we're going to get going. Let's change all the settings on this so that I can record this. And pop you guys here onto mute. So I don't know whether, you can't see yet, can you? But if you have a look at the back of my mat over there, I have a rolled up blanket. Can you find something similar, please, to use for your practice tonight? So a rolled up towel, a rolled up blanket, just anything really, anything that is adjustable is the word I'm looking for. So something that you can maybe change the thickness of according to your own needs. You might want something more, you might want 2 blankets, you might want to use your bolster, for instance. But for now, just use the one rolled up blanket. And can you roll it up and put it over your mat, please? And I'll try and slurp my tea that I've just finished making before it goes cold. So we have been dashing around. All 3 children have been in 3 different locations tonight. So it's been there's been a lot of miles have occurred, a lot of miles on the clock this evening. Okay, so hopefully you've found yourself something that resembles this rolled up blanket that I have here, or something similar. And just as a little bit of a reminder, we this week we did a lot of back bends, didn't we, on Tuesday night. Remember that we said that back bends are actually back strengtheners, and actually the bit that we are trying to lengthen and increase the flexibility of is on the front of our body. So we're going to feel that in lots of different places, lots of different regions. So I wanted to start our practice. We're just going to launch straight into it by coming to lay on your back with this rolled up blanket or towel, maybe just sort of wedged underneath the tips of your shoulder blades, the back of your bra strap, just somewhere in that kind of region. Doesn't have to be precise. The back of the heart even, whatever you visualise, wherever you feel this space needs opening. It might be even a little higher up, for instance. What I would suggest is that you always be attentive to your head. And even though sometimes taking a little bit of extension through the neck is quite healthy and welcomed, we can't really sustain it for many minutes as we do in our yin practice. So make sure that your head is always fully supported and that you can relax the structures of the neck as much as possible. You're not weight bearing, you don't want your head to be carrying the weight of your upper body either. So that's also very important. Please don't let your chest be up so high, so elevated from the ground that all your body weight pours through your neck and into your head. Nor do you want to overextend the cervicular spine, the neck, because that might slow down the blood circulation up to the brain. So we don't want that to happen either. So there's a few things to be cautionary of that would be remiss of me if I didn't point them out, but they are on the extreme end. They are very unlikely to cause you any problems as long as you just take good care. So the idea now is to just soften your body onto this support. And notice that I've got my knees bent, but you're very welcome to slide your feet away or to have your legs in any position that works for you. So, we're going for sensation tonight. I'm going to put my little timer on. We're going for softness as well. So I just think it's this middle of January slog that we have to get through, the longest month of January. And therefore, we need a little bit of kindness, a lot of self-care, just gifting ourselves the sensations that this practice affords us. So for the next little bit of time, I'll quieten down. You simply need to sink against the supports beneath you. I encourage you to let your diaphragm, your primary breathing muscle, to relax. You've got 1 more minute here. Okay, so we will take a longer rest in a moment, but like we did on Tuesday, we kind of carried on with our back bends for a little while before we took any kind of counter poses or any relief. So what I want us to do next is to just gently bend the knees, roll to the side and come softly round and up to sit. And then I'd like you to change the thickness of your blanket, of your support. So maybe now you roll it up a different way so that it gets a little bit bigger. Okay, not quite the size of a bolster perhaps, but a thicker version of what you just had. And previously the blanket was quite high up, maybe the tips of the shoulder blades, back of the heart. Now I want it to be in the middle of your back. So not your lumbar spine, but let's say rather where the diaphragm is or where your lower ribs are. So it needs to be nice and soft. We don't want there to be too, you don't want to be so high up that your ribs hurt pressing into this support. And do the same thing that we did last time. You can start with knees bent and then gradually stretch them away. And also make sure your head doesn't feel like it's going to fall off the top of your shoulders. So you might need a little bit of something underneath your head here, whereas you didn't need it in the previous position. Do the same as you did before, which is surrendering your weight into the support. Allow your breath to relax as much as possible. Keeping the breath very natural. And concentrating on the diaphragm moving very easily. Okay, so take your last breath here. Do the same as you did to come out before, which was bend the knees, gently roll to the side, come round and up to sit. And then it might be now that this changes again, and if you have the ability to roll it up maybe a bit more tightly, maybe a bit more thickly, I don't know, that like for me now I've just given that a kind of more firm rolling, so it feels a little bit more steady. And now this time is going to go into the lower back. Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm going with this. So this is supporting the curve, the big curve of your lumbar spine. And ideally, I don't know whether you can see, but can you see that my tailbone, my bottom has come off of the floor? I don't want that to happen. I want you to keep your tailbone on the ground. So really I should make this a little bit thinner so that I haven't overarched my lower back. However, if you feel that you want to give yourself that challenge, then you can go for it, but just be really careful, okay? Just be really careful with what you're doing. Sometimes it feels like we really need that big support there, and another time, you know, most of the time actually we just need to back off a little bit, be a little bit less. So I'm going to turn mine around that. Ooh, lost my shape now. I'm still going to keep it fairly thick. And remember that you can slide your feet away. Maybe you'd like to stretch your arms up into a sort of wide V shape if that feels right for your shoulders. Maybe you'd like to open your feet in the same kind of positions. This becomes like a supported pentacle pose. And I love this pose. I don't know why we don't do this one more often. This is absolutely one of my favourites. So go for sensation again, nice, quiet, calm practice, just centered on your own awareness. Noticing where you're feeling this now, and obviously we've moved down the spine, so we've created different shapes along the way. But particularly you're going to notice different areas on the front of your body being lengthened and opened. Allow the heaviness of your head to sink into the mat. And smooth the skin across your forehead. Okay, so take your last breath here. Okay. Now, very slowly bend your knees. Bring your feet back underneath the knees. And we're going to lift the hips and just roll this blanket away, maybe to the backs of the knees if you like, and just rest here. And we'll offer ourselves a couple of minutes of respite, where we spent quite a lot of time on the spine and quite a lot of time on lengthening the front of the body. So you might feel that the front of the body is a little bit tingly or a little bit warm as your blood moves. I also want you to honour that state of your being where, because we're being very slow, because we're not in a hurry, we're not rushing around from from position to position, we can take our time and allow ourselves to come into this beautiful state of ease. Just down regulating the nervous system, stepping into the parasympathetic place, letting the resting and the digesting occur. So if your tummy starts to gurgle around, that's really normal. But also if your body starts to feel more tired, more heavy, this is what we welcome in. Okay, well done everyone. So now we're going to come up to sit again. So take your time and join me. Not too much of a deviation and not too much of a prop change either. We're going to take our rolled up blanket and it's going to come back to the middle of the mat. And this time it's going to support the side of the waist. So it's a take on the reclining mermaid, which we normally do with the bolster and with the blocks and all sorts of other things. But for now we just want a moderate support, not our huge bolsters. We're not going for maximum intention here, maximum stretch, maximum compression, but a little bit more, if you like, restorative in nature. So keep this moderate. Of course, if you want to go bigger, but don't let me stop you. But I just want you to support the natural curve of your waist. And so when you lie down, you can bring your shoulder and the head down to the floor with ease. The legs are kind of stacked in a crisscross fashion as you like, wherever is comfy. And you want a very gentle, very moderate sense of lengthening into this side of your body. So the side of the hip, side waist. And this arm, the top arm, can just rest on your side. It could rest over your head if you wanted it to. You could go behind your back if you like. There's loads and loads of ways you can play with your arm. But you're looking for a sense of gentle support for the curve, the space underneath you. And then this space on top wants to have a feeling of stretch, but it's very, very mild and soft. And this kind of echoes back to last week's practice, where we talked about playing the edges, reaching our natural stopping point, etc., etc. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think, for me, this kind of practice feels nothing like last week's practice. If anything, last week's practice felt more intense, whereas this should feel very easy, almost delicious. There's a loveliness about all of the poses that we're going to do tonight. So make sure your head feels supported, it doesn't feel uncomfortable at the top of the neck there. Make any adjustments that you need, and then we just settle into this for a little while. Okay, so last 2 breaths. Gorgeous. And then we will carefully roll over to the other side, please. Okay, so use support in additional places if you need it. You might want something under the shoulder or the side of the neck. You might need your head on a small pillow. Please don't suffer here. Please don't struggle. This should be a really lovely place to spend some time, even if you have to spend some time setting it up. Remember that you want to feel this easy lengthening sensation along this top lateral side of your body. The arm is a bonus stretch, so you can place that wherever you feel like. So last couple of breaths, please. All right. Now carefully support yourself as you come round and up. I always feel coming out of these side bend positions that I have to be very careful with the ribs. The ribs suddenly feel very delicate, very exposed. However, we are going to slide into the next pose, which again is a slightly different pose than ones we normally do. And you're going to keep your blanket and your support, and it's going to go across the front of the hips here. You can have it on your tummy, but if you've eaten recently, I'd maybe avoid the upper abdomen. I'd make sure it's towards the lower border, so below the navel and down. So this is going to go here, sort of underneath. So if you need the toilet, now might be a good time to go. And you could just stay here on your forearms. So notice I've come into a Sphinx pose. And also notice I've got my feet wide. Please experiment. You can have your feet close together, feet really wide. However, what I do like doing here is making sure that the blanket is right underneath the hips rather than my belly. And then I do lay down with the forehead on the floor and the arms stretched and the feet wide. So it's like that pentacle pose that we did a little earlier on, but the other way up. Now this isn't everybody's cup of tea, and if it's not yours, that's fine. Do the propped up on the elbows version if you would rather that, or just come and lay on your front without anything underneath you. There's always that option available to you as well. So last breath. And then easing yourself away, back up, and maybe onto all fours, just for a brief moment. And in the all fours position, let's twirl the tailbone in circles. It's such an effective way to release and mobilise the lower back again after quite a lot of extension work, quite a lot of back bends. Change direction. Alright, back towards the centre. Okay, so not done yet, couple more. We seem to be rattling through them tonight. So we're going to lie onto the back again with your blanket, and obviously remember you change it to the height you want. And the knees are perhaps going to come towards the chest and roll to the side. Now you might find that they find the floor easy, but you might want to put the blanket in between the legs or even underneath the knees that way. So use the blanket for a little bit of support so that you can come into a lying twist that feels really held and safe and comfortable. So last couple of breaths, please. Okay. So let's transition on to the second side. Okay, so last breath. And then let's return gently towards the centre and just spend a little moment. Maybe take the blanket and just rest it onto your tummy. Just maybe lower belly, tummy region, and just let it rest there as you have your knees bent. Just feel your body sort of realigning, coming back into symmetry. Even though it might look on the outside as though you're completely still, on the inside you might be aware that there's very subtle micro movements as things rebalance again. Okay, so we have roughly 10 minutes before the class finishes. So I'm going to give you a choice. You could come into a lovely long 10-minute Shavasana, or you can come into one more pose, which is using the blanket, and we'll stay in the pose for maybe 3 minutes or so, and then we'll take Shavasana. So this time the blanket's going under the hips. Okay, so like pontoon pose, one that we do regularly, or fairly regularly. And again, it could be that you stretch the legs out, you could take the arms around the top of the head, but it's optional. So if you feel like you've done enough and you don't particularly need this finishing final penultimate pose, then just come straight into Shavasana and give yourself the gift of a longer stay there. So if you're in pontoon, make this your last breath. And then you can slowly make your way to our Shavasana. So maybe the blanket gets pushed underneath the backs of the legs again, just like before. Or you could use anything you like, of course. And just come and rest. You may even want to use your blanket to keep you warm, who knows? Alright, so for me, one of my kind of favourite types of practices where There feels like it has been a lot less doing in the truest sense of the yin practice. Because we can get caught up, can't we, in trying to do, even in yin. So when we surrender into something that's so much more gentle, and generally for me involves quite a lot of being horizontal, I have to admit. The seated yin poses are always so much more effortful. However, now that you've come to stillness, fully release the weight of your body into your mat. Allow a sense of complete surrender to sweep through your body. Enjoy noticing how calm and peaceful, at ease, I hope you feel. When we take this time to pause and release tensions and feelings of stuckness within our bodies, it allows us the opportunity to consider. And that's why I like to share sometimes these poems or these readings at the end of the practice. So there isn't really a relevance to the class itself, it's just something I saw in my book that I liked. Wherever a Lamp Goes by Swami Kripalu. Wherever a lamp goes, it sheds its light. Wherever a flower goes, it sheds its fragrance. So also spread your love wherever you go. Try to live your life like that. Just love. Wherever you go, just spread your love. Just keep your candle of love going. Whenever you find a candle unlit, light it up. Get it going everywhere. Remember, there's no other way than that. Remember this principle. Hold on to this principle. All answers lie with love. Suffering is all that's left after losing love. Okay, let's take a deeper breath together. And exhale and start to bring your awareness back into your space. Have a wiggle of fingers and toes. A roll of the head from side to side, and maybe a stretch out any way that feels good. Gather your knees in. Take a little roll to one side and come round and up to sit. Welcome back. Whew. Now, we've had a really nice sleepy practice tonight, so stay in that really lovely sleepy place, please. And don't let too much stimulation come back into the evening, because it will just wake you straight back up out of it. So let's finish very slowly together by taking fingertips to the sides. An easy inhalation as you gently raise the hands up above you. Palms find each other and softly let them slide down to rest in front of your heart. Good job. Thank you so much for coming to practice, and namaste to you. Well done.